Ethan's boots crunched against the dusty ground of the alien planet, each step echoing through the silent canyon. The sky was a swirl of violet and orange, and strange glowing plants cast shadows that twisted in ways humans had never seen. Ethan scanned the horizon through his visor, his heart tight with focus. His team had landed to scout this uncharted world, and every instinct told him that danger was close. The mission had seemed simple when the orders came from command. Recon and observe, they had said. Nothing more, avoid contact. But as soon as they had stepped out of the dropship, the air was filled with a tension that was impossible to ignore. Strange shapes moved in the distance, tall, fast, and unpredictable. It didn't take long for Ethan to realize that this planet was far from empty. Movement at 200 meters east side, called Lieutenant Harris through the comm. His voice was steady, but Ethan could hear the edge beneath it, the edge of nerves. Harris had been in more operations than Ethan could count, and if he was tense, the situation was serious. Ethan adjusted his rifle and crouched behind a jagged rock. The wind carried a strange scent, like metal and wet moss mixed together, and it made his stomach twist. The alien flora here was not just strange to look at. It seemed almost alive in a way that felt aware. He shook off the thought. Now was not the time to get lost in imagination. Through his visor, he saw the first signs of the attack. A small village lay nestled between two cliffs, its buildings low and made of an unknown crystalline material. Shadows moved violently among. The structures and bursts of light, like fire but with colors he could not name, lit up the settlement. The villagers, humanoid but clearly alien, ran screaming in panic. "Those are civilians," whispered Ethan, gripping his rifle tighter. "We can't just watch them die." Harris's voice came through again, calm but firm. "Ethan, remember, the orders. Observation only. Don't engage unless necessary." Ethan knew the rules, but in that moment the rules seemed meaningless. One of the small figures caught his eye. A young alien girl, no older than 10 by human standards. She was frozen, trapped under the debris of a shattered building. The attackers hadn't noticed her yet, but that wouldn't last. Her wide eyes met his through the haze, and something inside him shifted. Without thinking, Ethan moved. "I'm going in," he said, more to himself than to Harris. The comm crackled. "Ethan, wait." It was too late. The ground shook as the enemy advanced, and explosions erupted near the buildings. Ethan sprinted, dodging falling debris and fiery blasts. He reached the girl and pulled at the rubble, pinning her down. Her tiny arms flailed in panic, and she cried out in a language he didn't understand. But the fear in her eyes was universal. "Hey, it's okay, I've got you," Ethan shouted, gripping the heavier pieces of debris and lifting them just enough for her to crawl out. She hesitated, unsure, then scrambled free. Ethan shielded her with his body as a nearby explosion sent shards of rock and metal flying. One piece struck his shoulder, and pain shot through him like fire, but he didn't falter. "Come on, we have to move," he urged, grabbing her small hand. She clutched his glove tightly, and together they ran toward the canyon's edge. The world seemed to spin around them. Explosions, screams, the roar of engines above. But Ethan's mind focused only on keeping her safe. They reached a small overhang and crouched, catching their breath. Ethan checked her for injuries. She was shaken but miraculously unharmed. Her skin shimmered faintly in the alien light, soft and smooth, unlike anything he had seen before. Her eyes, large and reflective, watched him with cautious trust. "Do you understand me?" Ethan asked gently. She shook her head, but her eyes seemed to say yes. It didn't matter. They didn't need words right now. They needed survival. Distant rumble made Ethan tense. The enemy wasn't done. He looked at the girl and made a decision. "Stay here. Don't move." He slipped from behind the overhang and peeked over the edge. The attackers were advancing methodically, clearly, looking for survivors. Ethan's team was nowhere in sight. They had been forced back by the overwhelming firepower. His heart pounded. He couldn't leave her. He couldn't let her die. Using the rocks and shadows for cover, He started to create small diversions, throwing debris to mislead the attackers, making noise in one direction then dashing another. Each move was precise, each second critical. Then a massive explosion erupted just ahead of him, shaking the ground violently. Ethan threw himself over the girl, using his body as a shield. Shrapnel tore through the air and pain exploded in his side as metal pierced his armor. He gritted his teeth, focusing on keeping her safe rather than on himself. When the dust settled, he felt warmth running down his chest. The girl whimpered and clung to him tightly. He looked around. The village was almost entirely destroyed. Fires burned in strange colors and smoke curled into the sky. The attackers had retreated for now, leaving chaos in their wake. Ethan tried to stand, but the world tilted, and he collapsed beside her. The pain in his body was sharp, unrelenting, yet through the haze he could see her face, small, frightened, but alive. That alone was enough to push him forward. "Hang on," he whispered. "We're not done yet." The girl looked at him with a strange mixture of fear and gratitude. In her gaze, Ethan saw something that touched him deeply, a hope that someone cared, someone human. He realized that in this vast galaxy, moments like this defined humanity, not strength, not technology, but courage, selflessness, and the willingness to protect others, even if they were alien. A sudden shadow passed over them, and Ethan's visor picked up movement above. Drones, floating, metallic, and unfamiliar, hovered over the battlefield. They scanned the area, their sensors catching remnants of the attack. He had no idea if they were allies or additional threats. His body ached, blood seeped through his uniform, but he didn't flinch. The girl needed him. He tried to lift her again, and she instinctively leaned on him. Every step was agony, but he pushed forward, toward the nearest safe zone he could remember from their brief mission briefing. Every second felt stretched across eternity, every breath a battle against pain and exhaustion. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only minutes, they reached a hollow cave at the canyon's edge. Ethan collapsed beside it, the girl immediately, curling against him. He could feel her trembling. His own body screamed for rest, but his mind refused. He had saved her, and that small victory felt monumental. The alien girl pressed her small hand to his chest, where the wound burned. Her touch was soft, almost reverent, as if she understood the sacrifice he had made. Ethan's vision blurred, and a wave of dizziness overtook him. He whispered for her to stay still, then everything went dark. The last thing he felt was her hand clutching his, warm and fragile, and the knowledge that he had done the right thing. Then, silence. Ethan's eyes opened slowly, the light around him soft and unfamiliar. He blinked several times trying to focus and realized he was lying on a smooth, glowing surface that pulsed gently beneath him. The pain in his side was sharp, but it was accompanied by a strange warmth as if his body were being healed from within. He tried to sit up, but a gentle force pressed him down. A soft voice, melodic and calming, spoke from somewhere nearby. "Do not rise. You are safe." Ethan's head turned toward the sound. Hovering slightly above the ground were small, oval-shaped devices, emitting a faint light. Their movements were fluid and precise, almost like living creatures, though they were clearly mechanical. One of them extended a delicate arm, and he felt a cool touch on his chest. Pain flared, but it was replaced by relief. His wounds were closing, his blood flow returning to normal. Ethan's heart pounded, half from the pain he had endured, half from astonishment. "Where am I?" he whispered. The voice returned, though no mouth moved. Somehow he understood, the words in his mind. "You are in the care of my people. You risked your life to protect one of ours. You are wounded, but you will live." Ethan looked around again. The walls of the chamber were curved and iridescent, glowing softly like bioluminescent waves. The air smelled faintly sweet, clean, and electric at the same time. It was unlike any human building he had ever seen. He noticed movement nearby, a figure watching him cautiously. It was the girl, Lyra. Her small frame was silhouetted against the glowing walls, her large reflective eyes full of worry. She stepped forward slowly, almost as if approaching him would break some invisible rule. Ethan tried to sit up straighter. "I'm okay. Thanks to you," he said, though he realized she couldn't understand him. She cocked her head, blinking, and pressed a hand to his chest where the wound still throbbed. Her touch was gentle, and Ethan felt an odd sense of connection. Before he could say anything else, the mechanical devices swirled around them. A soft vibration passed through the air, and a projection appeared, a holographic map of the city, outside. It showed areas damaged by the attack, zones still burning, and small symbols that Ethan assumed were people like Lyra. The girl stepped closer to the map. Ethan watched her point at a cluster of symbols that pulsed red, then at another, group that glowed green, his brow furrowed. He didn't know what the colors meant, but the way she moved her hands and focused showed intelligence far beyond her age. One of the hovering devices spoke again, and this time Ethan understood the message clearly in his mind. "These are your allies and your enemies. You saved Lyra, one of the young ones. Your actions have changed the course of events for our people." Ethan exhaled slowly. "I just did what I had to." But even as he said it, he realized the words were small compared to what had happened. He had risked his life for someone he barely knew, and it had changed everything. The chamber shifted, slightly opening into a larger space filled with soft light and gentle hums. Ethan could see figures moving in the distance, tall, elegant, humanoid aliens. Their skin shimmered in soft metallic shades, and their eyes glowed faintly. They moved with purpose and calm, observing him carefully. Lyra ran forward to them, and they embraced her briefly before turning to regard Ethan with curiosity and respect. One of the aliens, taller than the rest, approached. Her movements were fluid, her presence commanding yet gentle. Ethan felt a strange sense of awe. "You are the one who saved her?" she asked, though the words formed clearly in his mind without sound. Ethan nodded. "I had no choice. She was in danger." The alien's eyes softened. "You are human. Your courage is remarkable. It is rare to see such selflessness." Ethan tried to rise, but a wave of exhaustion overcame him. The pain from the shrapnel, combined with fatigue, was almost unbearable. The alien noticed and gestured. The mechanical devices gently guided him to a seating platform that molded to his shape. Warmth and a soft vibration helped ease the lingering pain. The taller alien studied him with curiosity. "Your species, humans, are unpredictable. We have observed you before, but to see one risk himself for another being, a child, is extraordinary." Ethan managed a small smile. "I didn't think about species. I just didn't want her to die." The alien nodded, and the words echoed in his mind like music. That is courage, that is humanity. For the next several hours, Ethan rested while Lyra stayed close. Occasionally, the floating devices hovered near, checking his condition. Food and water, strange but nourishing, were provided automatically. He was amazed at how the alien technology worked in harmony with their biology, healing wounds and restoring strength quickly. Finally, Ethan felt strong enough to sit upright and take in his surroundings. The chamber opened to a garden-like space. Bioluminescent plants grew in winding patterns, and soft streams of water glowed faintly under the alien light. Birds, or something like birds, with translucent wings, fluttered above, singing soft notes that resonated in harmony with the environment. Lyra led him carefully through the garden. She pointed at the plants, touching them lightly, and Ethan noticed that some of the foliage responded, bending toward her hand or emitting soft light. It was mesmerizing, and he realized that the aliens lived in complete harmony with this world. They were not just inhabitants, they were part of it. "You live like this?" Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The taller alien appeared beside him. "Yes, our people have learned to coexist with this world. We protect it, and it protects us." Ethan nodded slowly. He could see why. This world, fragile yet strong, glowing with life in every direction, deserved protection. He had risked his life for a child in danger, and now he understood that his actions had greater consequences than he could imagine. As they walked, Lyra occasionally glanced up at him. There was trust in her eyes, and Ethan felt a protective instinct growing stronger. She was more than a child. She was a symbol of everything he had fought for. The taller alien spoke again. The attackers who harmed your people in Lyra's settlement are not finished. They seek to dominate this world and use its energy for their purposes. Your intervention, it has given us a chance to fight back. Ethan's jaw tightened. He had always known danger in human conflicts, but now he was part of something larger, something that spanned worlds. And yet, despite the pain he had endured, he felt ready. If humans could survive their own wars, maybe they could help others, too. Suddenly alarms sounded, soft, melodic, yet urgent. The floating devices swirled quickly, and the taller alien raised a hand. "Enemies approaching," she said, calm but focused. "You must rest, human. We will handle the initial defense." Ethan shook his head. I need to help." The alien regarded him carefully. "Your courage is admirable, but your body is weak. Rest now and you will be ready when your strength returns." He hesitated but realized she was right. He couldn't protect Lyra or anyone else if he collapsed, from exhaustion. He nodded and the alien gestured for him to lie down again. Lyra curled beside him, and Ethan felt a sense of calm wash over him. For the first time since the explosion, he felt safe. But even in safety, his mind raced. Who were the attackers? What did they want from this world? And what role was he meant to play in the events to come? One thing was certain. He had already changed the fate of this alien girl, and perhaps the fate of this world itself. As he drifted into a deep, exhausted sleep, he felt Lyra's small hand in his. Her presence was comforting, a reminder of why he had risked everything. Ethan didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he was ready to face it. The world outside glowed softly in shades of violet and blue, untouched by the chaos of the battle. Inside, Ethan rested, surrounded by beings who had once been strangers but now regarded him as a protector, a friend, and perhaps a hero. And for the first time, he allowed himself to believe that humanity, his humanity, could truly matter. Even on a distant alien world, Ethan woke to a soft glow filling the chamber. His side still throbbed, but the warmth of the alien technology eased the worst of the pain. Lyra was already awake, standing near the edge of the platform, her reflective eyes scanning the room. She turned toward him and gave a small, hopeful smile. "Good morning," Ethan whispered, stretching carefully. He did not want to disturb her or the gentle hum of the room. She tilted her head as if understanding, and motioned for him to follow. He rose slowly, his movements stiff but determined. The taller alien appeared silently beside him, her presence calm and commanding. "You are ready to see more of our world," she said, the words forming directly in his mind. "But you must walk carefully. The outside is not yet safe." Ethan nodded. He felt a strange mix of excitement and caution. Since the attack, his world had changed. He was no longer just a human soldier on a mission. He was part of something bigger, a living, breathing world with people who trusted him and a child who depended on him. Lyra led him through winding corridors filled with soft, glowing walls. Every step seemed to resonate with a faint hum, as if the building itself were alive. Ethan marveled at the alien technology, which seemed organic and harmonious rather than mechanical and harsh. Plants grew along the walls, their vines intertwining with circuits that pulsed with energy. Light shifted gently, illuminating their path without the need for traditional lamps. As they moved, Ethan tried to ask questions, but the words felt inadequate. Instead, he observed. Every alien he passed bowed slightly or stepped aside with respect. It was clear that Lyra's people valued order, discipline, and perhaps most of all, courage. Finally, they reached an observation chamber that overlooked the city. Ethan's breath caught at the sight. From above, the city looked like a web of shimmering light and organic architecture. Towers curved and spiraled, walls pulsed with color, and bridges stretched between them like strands of living fiber. Small, flying vehicles moved silently among the structures, leaving faint trails of light behind them. The attackers had damaged parts of the city, but it still radiated life and resilience. The taller alien motioned to a large holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed the city's layout, highlighting zones in red where the enemy had been active and areas in green where life was still flourishing. Lyra stepped forward and touched one of the red zones. Symbols appeared above her fingers, lines, shapes, and flashes of color that Ethan could not understand but sensed were important. The red zones are the areas under threat, the alien explained. The enemy seeks to control our energy sources. Without them, our world cannot survive. Ethan's jaw tightened. Energy sources? Are they weapons? The alien shook her head. No. Our energy sustains life itself. The attackers want it to fuel their own conquest. They do not care for life, only power. Ethan felt a familiar weight settle in his chest, the same weight he had felt on the battlefield when the girl was trapped. Then we have to stop them, he said. His voice was steady, firm. The taller alien's eyes softened as if she had expected his answer. You are ready, she said. Your strength will help us, but you must learn our ways. To fight here requires more than weapons. It requires understanding our environment, our people, and our technology. Lyra ran her small hand along Ethan's arm. He looked down and met her gaze. She was counting on him, and that simple connection gave him courage. He nodded, silently promising that he would not let her down. Over the next several hours, Ethan was introduced to the alien city in more detail. They moved through gardens filled with glowing flora, over bridges that shimmered under their feet, and past pools of water that reflected light in soft, dancing patterns. Lyra showed him hidden paths, places where the city's energy flowed, strongest and safe zones for civilians. Ethan noticed that the aliens were not just technologically advanced, they were deeply connected to their environment. Every action, every movement seemed to respect the life around them. Humans had technology, yes, but these beings had balance. And balance, he realized, was a kind of strength he had never fully appreciated. As the sun, or whatever passed for, a sun on this world, shifted in the sky, the peaceful moment was shattered by a low rumble. The air vibrated and warning signals echoed softly through the city. Ethan and Lyra froze and the taller alien's eyes narrowed. They are coming again, she said. Prepare yourself. Ethan's body tensed, instinct taking over. How many? He asked. Too many to count, she replied. But your people are strong. Your courage will inspire our defenders. The next moments were a blur. Ethan was guided to a platform overlooking the battlefield, where defenders had gathered. Alien soldiers moved with precision, wielding weapons that glowed faintly and emitted energy pulses. Ethan's heart raced. This was unlike any human battlefield he had ever faced, but the principles were the same. Strategy, courage, and determination. Lyra stayed close, her small hand gripping his glove. Ethan felt a protective instinct surge. He could not let anything happen to her. Not now, not ever. The enemy approached in waves. Strange vehicles, fast and sleek, moved in coordinated patterns, firing blasts that lit up the sky. Alien defenders met them with energy shields, pulses, and traps, but the attackers were relentless, forcing the defenders to adapt quickly. Ethan observed carefully, noting weaknesses in their formations. When he saw a narrow path where attackers could be funneled, he gestured to a group of alien soldiers. They hesitated, unsure of his suggestion, but the taller alien nodded. Together, they created a plan to divert the enemy and protect key zones. With adrenaline pumping, Ethan joined the defenders. Using his knowledge of strategy and battlefield tactics, he led small teams to reinforce critical points, set traps, and guide civilians to safety. Lyra ran beside him when needed, her bravery surprising him. She was small, but her presence was inspiring. The battle raged for hours. Ethan's body ached, but he refused to falter. Every move he made saved lives. The aliens began to see him, not just as a human, but as a leader and a symbol of hope. At one critical moment, A group of enemy vehicles broke through the defenses, heading straight for a zone filled with civilians. Ethan didn't hesitate. He dove into the path using his body and quick thinking to block their advance. Lyra screamed, but he held her close, using debris and shields to protect them. When the attackers finally retreated, Ethan was exhausted. His clothes were torn, his body bruised, but he was alive, and so were the civilians. Lyra hugged him tightly, her small body pressed against his side. He felt a strange warmth at that gesture, a reminder of why he fought. The taller alien appeared beside him. "You have done well," she said. "Your actions have saved many lives today. You have earned the trust and gratitude of our people." Ethan looked around at the city, at the glowing buildings, the people who had survived, and the young girl he had saved. He realized that this world was fragile, yes, but it was filled with life, hope, and resilience. And in a strange way, he felt that he belonged here, even if only as a visitor, a protector. As night fell, Ethan stood with Lyra and the taller alien, looking out over the city. The battles were over for now, but he knew this was only the beginning. The attackers would return, and the fight for the survival of this world was far from finished. But for the first time, Ethan felt something he had never felt on human battlefields. A deep connection to a world and its people, a sense that courage and humanity could make a difference beyond his own species. Lyra's small hand found his again. He squeezed it gently, silently promising that no matter what came next, he would be there. She smiled, and for a moment, the horrors of the battle faded. Hope remained, and Ethan understood that hope, courage, and selflessness were universal. They could bridge worlds, connect species, and perhaps even change the course of history. The alien city shimmered in the night, alive and vibrant. Ethan, weary but resolute, knew that he had a role to play here, and whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them, with courage, with humanity, and with the girl who had become the reason he fought. Ethan woke early, his body still sore from the previous day's battle. The memory of the explosions, the flying debris, and the enemy's relentless advance was still vivid. Yet as he stretched carefully, he noticed Lyra standing nearby, watching him with quiet concern. Her large eyes reflected both worry and admiration. "You're awake?" she said softly, her voice still untranslatable, but he could understand the meaning through her gestures and expressions. Ethan nodded and smiled, faintly. "Morning," he said. "How are you?" She tilted her head, pressed a small hand to her chest, then pointed at him and nodded. He understood. She meant he had fought bravely. He felt a small sense of pride, but it was overshadowed by the weight of responsibility. He had saved her, yes, but this world was still under threat. The taller alien appeared silently beside him, her presence calm and commanding. "You must be ready today," she said, words forming clearly in his mind. "The attackers are regrouping. They will strike again soon. Your knowledge and courage will be needed." Ethan took a deep breath. "I'm ready," he said. "Show me what to do." They moved quickly through the city. Ethan noticed how alive it was, even after the destruction of the previous attack. Alien citizens moved with purpose, repairing damage, transporting supplies, and tending to those injured. Energy flowed through the city like a living river, and Ethan realized that the attackers' goal was not just destruction. They sought control over something much more vital, the life force of the planet itself. The taller alien led Ethan to a platform overlooking the main approach to the city. Soldiers gathered, some armed with weapons that emitted glowing pulses, others using shields that shimmered in soft light. Ethan's eyes scanned the battlefield. He could see the enemy vehicles moving in the distance, fast and aggressive, probing the city's defenses. "The attackers have learned from yesterday," the alien said. "They will not be easily defeated. You must lead where you can. Your strategies can save many lives." Ethan felt the familiar surge of determination. He had trained for years in combat, but this was unlike anything he had faced before. The enemy was alien, Their tactics unfamiliar, yet the principles remained the same. Anticipate, adapt, and act decisively. Lyra stayed close, holding his hand tightly. Her presence was both comforting and motivating. He realized that he could not afford to think only of strategy. He had to protect her and every other innocent being in the city. The enemy struck suddenly. Explosions lit up the sky, and blasts of energy tore through the air. Alien soldiers moved with precision, but the attackers were relentless. Ethan ran along the defensive lines, shouting instructions, guiding soldiers to weak points, and creating diversions. At one point, a group of enemy vehicles broke through a critical sector. Ethan saw civilians trapped in the path. Without hesitation, he sprinted forward, diving between the attackers and the crowd. He used debris and energy barriers to block their advance, while signaling alien soldiers to intercept. Lyra screamed, but stayed behind a protective shield, her small body trembling. Ethan fought with everything he had, using both his human instincts and the knowledge he had learned from the aliens. Every move counted. Every second could save lives or cost them. The taller alien observed him with interest. "Your courage is extraordinary," she said. "Humans can inspire even in worlds far from your own." Hours passed in a blur of motion and chaos. Ethan felt exhaustion clawing at him, but he did not falter. Every successful maneuver, every life saved, strengthened his resolve. The aliens began to fight with renewed confidence, inspired by the human who risked everything to protect them. Finally, after a long and grueling battle, the attackers began to retreat. Their vehicles withdrew, leaving destruction in their wake but failing to achieve their objective. The city was battered, but the people remained alive. Ethan looked around, breathing heavily, and realized that they had won a critical victory. Lyra ran to him, pressing her small body against his side. Ethan hugged her gently, feeling the warmth of her trust and gratitude. He had saved her once, but today he had saved countless others as well. The taller alien approached, her eyes softening. "You have done more than we could have hoped," she said. "Your courage has given our people hope. You have earned a place among us if you wish." Ethan shook his head. "I don't belong here," he said. "I'm just trying to do what's right." She smiled faintly. "Belonging is not about where you come from, human. It is about what you do and the lives you touch. You have shown that humanity can be a force for good, even in worlds far from your own." Ethan felt a mix of humility and pride. He had never considered himself heroic, only willing to act when necessary. Yet here he was, recognized by an entire civilization for his bravery. As the day drew to a close, Ethan walked through the city with Lyra. They observed the repairs, the resilience of the people, and the ways in which the aliens had adapted to the attack. It was remarkable. Even after facing death, they continued to live, to rebuild, to protect one another. "You see," the taller alien said as they walked, "your actions have not only saved lives, they have strengthened the bond between our species. You are proof that courage and compassion are universal." Ethan nodded, glancing at Lyra. She looked up at him with wide eyes, as if understanding every word. He realized that she too was learning from him, not just about courage, but about hope, resilience, and the power of selflessness. That night, as they settled in a safe chamber, Ethan reflected on the events of the day. The attackers were still out there planning their next move. But he felt ready. He had allies, knowledge, and the determination to face whatever came next. And he had Lyra, who had become both his responsibility and his motivation. Sleep came fitfully, filled with visions of explosions, fleeing civilians, and the faces of those he had saved. Yet even in dreams, he felt a sense of purpose. Humanity, he realized, could make a difference even on a distant world filled with beings far unlike himself. Morning came again, and with it, news of another attack. Ethan rose, determined. Today he would not only defend the city, he would lead its defenders, combining human tactics with alien technology and strategy. The battlefield awaited, and Ethan was ready. Every step he took, every plan he made was guided by a simple principle. Protect the innocent and fight with courage no matter the cost. Lyra ran beside him, her small form fearless. Ethan realized that bravery was not limited by size, species, or age, and as he faced the coming storm, he knew one thing with certainty. Humanity, when guided by courage and selflessness, could stand against even the most powerful threats. The Diria alien city shimmered in the morning light, alive and resilient. Ethan, battered but unbroken, felt a renewed sense of purpose. He would protect this world, these people, and the girl who had trusted him. And whatever challenges awaited, he would meet them with determination, courage, and hope. Ethan stood at the edge of the glowing plaza, the city around him alive with energy. Alien citizens moved gracefully between the organic towers, their translucent skin shimmering under the light of floating orbs. It was quiet now, almost peaceful, yet the memory of the recent battle lingered in his mind. He could still feel the weight of danger pressing on his shoulders, the adrenaline that had fueled every decision, every movement. Beside him, Lyra's small hand rested gently on his arm. She looked up at him with wide eyes, admiration clear in her gaze. Ethan tried to smile, but it was a tired smile, the kind that only comes after hours of fear and struggle. He had seen the true bravery of these people, of this little girl who had survived so much, and he felt a deep sense of responsibility. The alien elders approached, their movements slow but deliberate. Their forms were elegant, taller than Ethan had expected, with long flowing limbs that seemed almost liquid in motion. They radiated authority and wisdom. One of them stepped forward, her eyes glowing softly as she spoke through the translation device. Human. Her voice was calm, but carried weight. You have shown courage beyond what we expected. Your actions have saved lives and changed the course of our future. Ethan nodded, humbled. He did not seek praise. He had acted on instinct, on the simplest principle he had ever known. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. I only did what anyone would do, he said, though he knew that the truth was more complicated. Not everyone would have risked their life for someone they barely knew, especially someone so different from themselves. Another elder, older and more regal, stepped forward, his eyes deep and knowing. What you call instinct, we call honor. It is rare among your kind, but today humanity has proven its worth in our eyes. You are welcome among us, not as a stranger, but as a friend, as a protector. Ethan's mind raced. Friend? Protector? He had never imagined being accepted into an alien world, let alone being offered a position of respect and trust. The weight of it pressed on him, but it was not uncomfortable. It was the kind of weight that brought meaning, the kind that told him his choices mattered. Lyra squeezed his arm. They want you to stay, she said softly. Her voice, simple and small, carried hope. Ethan looked at her, and for the first time he allowed himself to imagine a life beyond the battlefield. A life where he was not just a soldier, but someone who could belong. Someone who could matter. The crowd of aliens began to gather around them, their faces a mixture of curiosity and gratitude. They had seen his courage and they wanted to show their respect. Ethan realized that he was surrounded by beings who had once seemed so foreign, so impossible to understand. Now, they were family in a way he had never expected. One of the younger aliens, a boy with bright, curious eyes, stepped forward and placed a small, glowing orb in Ethan's hands. The light pulsed softly, warming him. For you, the boy said. Simple words, but the meaning was clear. It was a symbol of thanks, a token of their appreciation for the risk he had taken. Ethan looked at the orb and felt a surge of emotion. It was not just a gift. It was a reminder that even in the vastness of the universe, his actions could make a difference. Lyra's parents approached, their expressions filled with relief and gratitude. They had feared the worst when Ethan had stepped into the explosion to save their daughter. Now they could see that he had not only survived but had become a symbol of hope. They spoke through the translator, their voices warm. "You are always welcome here. You saved our child, and for that we owe you everything." Ethan shook his head. "I don't need thanks," he said, but his voice carried the truth of someone who had seen lives changed by his choices. "I only did what I had to do." The elders nodded, understanding the humility behind his words. "Humility is a strength," the older one said. "It makes your courage even more profound." As the crowd began to disperse, the city returned to its usual rhythm. Ethan and Lyra walked together through the streets, taking in the beauty and harmony of the alien world. He had never seen anything like it. Structures that seemed alive, streets that glowed with soft light, and citizens who moved with a grace that was almost musical. Yet despite the wonder, he felt a connection to these people that went beyond fascination. He felt loyalty, respect, and a strange, growing sense of belonging. They arrived at a quiet plaza overlooking a body of water that shimmered under the alien sun. Lyra's eyes reflected the colors of the sky, and she looked at Ethan with a seriousness beyond her years. "You didn't have to save me," she said quietly. "You could have left." Ethan shook his head. "I couldn't," he replied simply. "I saw you in danger and I couldn't stand by. It's what any human should do for another life." She smiled, a small, radiant smile that made the exhaustion of the day fade away. "Then I am lucky," she said. "Lucky that a human came when I needed help." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. He had never considered himself a hero. He had acted because it was right, because he could not imagine leaving someone to die. Yet here, in this moment, surrounded by those who had once been strangers and were now his friends, he began to understand the impact of his actions. One life saved could ripple outward in ways he could never have imagined. Suddenly, a soft hum filled the air. The translation device indicated that the elders wished to speak again. They had come to offer him a permanent place among them, a role as a guardian of their people. It was an honor unlike any he had ever known, and it carried responsibilities he had never expected. Ethan looked around, taking in the city, the people, and most of all, Lyra. He realized that he had found something rare, a purpose that went beyond survival, beyond battle. He had the chance to be more than a soldier. He could be a bridge between worlds, a protector who showed that humanity's courage and compassion could reach across the stars. "I will stay," he said finally. His voice was firm, carrying the certainty of someone who had made a choice, not out of duty but out of understanding. "I will help protect your people. I will be here." The elders nodded, their expressions filled with approval. Lyra's eyes lit up, and she hugged him tightly. Ethan felt a warmth he had never known, the kind that came from being accepted, being valued, and being trusted. He had crossed the line from human soldier to hero in a world far from his own. As the sun began to set, casting brilliant colors across the alien skyline, Ethan stood surrounded by gratitude and hope. The city pulsed gently around him, alive, with light and life. He could see families reunited, children playing, and citizens going about their lives in peace. And for the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to breathe, to relax, and to imagine a future that was not just about survival, but about belonging, courage, and love. In that moment, Ethan understood something fundamental. The universe was vast, full of danger and mystery, but it was also full of opportunity. Small acts of bravery, simple choices made in the heat of danger could create bonds that stretched across worlds. Humanity had shown its worth, not through conquest or domination, but through courage, selflessness, and the willingness to stand for others. And as he looked at Lyra, and the people who now called him friend, Ethan knew that he had found something even more precious than victory. He had found trust, acceptance, and the knowledge that even one human could make a difference. In a galaxy that often seemed too vast to change, the city's lights glowed brighter as the stars began to appear overhead. Ethan felt the hum of energy beneath his feet. the pulse of life that connected all who lived here. He realized that he was not alone. He was part of something bigger, a story of courage, friendship, and hope that would continue long after the battles were over. He had risked his life for one alien girl, and in doing so, he had gained a world full of friends. Surrounded by beings who once seemed impossible to understand, he finally understood that heroism was not about fame or glory. It was about choosing to do what is right even when it is hard, and even when no one is watching. And in that knowledge, Ethan felt peace. He had acted with courage. He had acted with heart. And now, surrounded by gratitude, hope, and the quiet hum of a living city, he knew that he had truly found a place among the stars.